Are you looking to up your real estate investing game? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sub 2 Deals Show with your host, Sub 2 expert William Tingle.
Hey, Sub-Tours. My name is William Tingle of sub2deals.com. I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the Sub-2 Deals Show, where we talk about all things subject to, and occasionally we'll talk about some other real estate topics, but it's always something to help you grow your real estate investing business. Today's another episode in our Real Investor series, where we feature real investors sharing real stories and real deals. These guys are investors doing deals all across the country. They don't have boot camps or courses to sell. They just have real tips and strategies and the things that are working today in their businesses and in their markets. They share them all with you, and these things can work for you too. So pay attention and take notes. My guest today is Steve Warrene. Steve is a real estate investor in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's been investing for over 18 years and has been full-time for over 5 years. Steve buys just about anything out there. He buys multi-units. He does sub-2 deals. He does all kinds of stuff. He is a real transaction engineer, and it's going to be really informative listening to him today. So, Steve, welcome to the Sub-2 Deal Show.
Yep, I'm glad to be here. Thank you. How are you doing today?
Man, I am doing fantastic. Things are going great. And it's just another day in real estate, isn't it?
Oh, yes, sir.
That's the way it is. Hey, listen, Steve, tell us a little bit about your background, what you did before real estate and what got you to where you are now.
Well, basically I was dating a woman with 3 kids. I was working a lot, needed to bring more money in. I worked for a job where I would leave town, work 4 10-hour days, come home. And yeah, there's only so much you can do on 3 days off, lifting weights, running, all this stuff. I just need to create wealth. So I started looking up how to create wealth. Everything I found was about real estate. So I just, I grabbed a couple things, learned a few things, went out and started doing it.
So what really got you into it was just your research and what you could do to, to build some wealth instead of just having to work every day for a living.
Yes, sir. I don't believe in knowledge is potential power. Applied knowledge is wealth. So I learned a few things, and I went out and just started buying properties. I bought 4 houses right away. The banks after that said I can't do any more bank loans. So I had to start learning how to do stuff without bank loans and learned about no money down programs. And I just went out and started applying it.
That's exactly what got me into subject too. And this is what I tell investors to do all the time. Before you even buy your first house, have a clear plan of where you see your business going and the goals you want to accomplish. And I wanted cash flow. Yeah. And I learned enough to know that at a certain point, and it seemed like everything I was hearing was between 4 and 6 houses, the bank's going to say, hey, we have enough exposure with you, which is just a nice way of saying, I guess you owe us a lot of money, and we're not going to lend you any more money. And I said, man, I'm going to need more than 6 houses to create enough cash flow, to live like I want to live.
Yep. I was in the same boat.
Yeah. So you picked up some course material and it taught you how to buy houses without banks.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I bought 18 houses in my first year.
Well, that's great. So, I mean, what did you have a goal or anything like that when you started? How many houses you wanted to buy? I mean, or what was your plan?
Back then, I didn't have a number. I was just hungry. I bought a house. I was living in it alone. The woman I was dating at the time, she wasn't ready to move in yet. So as a house, it was just, I needed something to do. So creating money, creating wealth is all I want to do. And I went out and bought everything I looked at.
Yeah. Well, do you remember, you said you bought your first 4 with banks, and at that point you had to do something different. You remember your first creative deal, how that went?
Yep. I learned, I bought a course that taught a couple different ways, and I get overwhelmed too quick if I try to learn too much. So I learned one technique, lease options. I went out, bought like 3-4 houses, lease options, sold them that way. After that, I learned about land contracts. I went out, bought 3, 4, 5 houses, land contracts, sold them land contract. Then I found out about straight options, and that is wholesaling. And I just went out and started getting them under wholesale. And if I couldn't turn them to a buyer, I would just create them into an owner finance deal somehow, subject twos, stuff like that. And when I learned about subject to, where I didn't need the seller to be there when I turned around and resold it, that was my biggest turn on, because lease options, I had to find the sellers, get them at the closing table. It was too much of a headache. Straight subject twos are the greatest way to do this.
Do you remember your first subject to deal?
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us about it and how it happened?
Yeah, I just pretty much talked to them. They were behind on payments. They had it listed with a realtor. It didn't sell. When I door knocked them, I got them to open up, talk to me. That's when they told me they were behind on payments. And I just said, just deed me the house, get out of the way. They couldn't grasp it at first. I had to sit down and explain it to them. They deeded me a house. They moved. I don't know where they moved out of state. I don't know where, but after that, I just took over property, put someone in there, monitored them for about 2 years, and turned around and had them buy it out.
Well, great. That's the way we like for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you've probably bought hundreds since that point.
I don't know if it's hundreds, but I bought a whole crap load. I had over 50 properties when I got separated. So, I had to downsize. Then I came back and got a partner. We started buying properties, and we bought a good bit, turned them and everything. So I've been around the block a few times.
How many properties would you say you're buying a month now? I know every time I talk to you, you've got, it seems like just bunches of deals under contract and in the due diligence process. How many are you closing on a month now?
Well, closing to keep or closing overall?
Well, closing to keep, or, how many deals are you doing a month?
That depends. Right now, I just talked a new partner that I got, my ex-partner that we just went our separate ways on Wednesday. We own a handful of properties, and I probably got to close like 3 or 4 more within the next 30 days before her and I cut waste completely. The new partner I got, he just brought me a deal. He didn't know how to close it, so I showed him how on a subject to deal. We're going to be buying that on Monday, and we'll get that closed. We'll get that closed shortly after. Got a couple small multi-units that I'm trying to get worked over to close. So I don't know, maybe just like 3 or 4 at the time.
Yeah. I usually ask people about their business model, but I know that you do a ton of different things. Do you have any particular business model that you like to use? I mean, are you just act as a transaction engineer on whatever comes along?
Well, transaction engineer, yes, but just like driving a car, I can drive a car, I can drive a stick shift, I can drive a motorcycle, I can do any of that down the highway. But I like my four-wheel, I like my regular car. So for a transactional engineer, I can do anything and everything, but my main thing is subject to. I want to get the deed, I want to get them out of the way, and I want to cash flow it and make it happen.
Yeah. So if you had just an ideal situational deal come along, what would it go like? What would the scenario be?
Typical scenario, someone needs to sell, either they're losing it through a foreclosure or their house expired. I just talk to them and just structure a deal. I want to look at the payment. I want to look at the equity. And if I know I can get the cash flow I desire for the area and there's a good bit of equity, then that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for plus cash flow and equity.
Right. So, there are a lot of us now, and my actual profile on most of the houses I buy, we're paying around 90 cents on the dollar, and we're really making the money on the spread between, we'll mark the house up somewhere usually between 6 and 10% and sell it to an owner finance buyer. And then our real money's made in the cash flow on a monthly basis. We're taking over these low interest loans and we're selling them, at 7-8% interest. So do you buy in that range, or do you have to have better equity than that to be interested?
No, that all depends. It's all different scenario. If there's no equity, I tell the sellers, I need at least 10 years to make payments on it. They're not going to sell to the realtor. There's no equity. And I'll turn around and sell it at a little bit higher price. And I always add 2 points to the loan. So if I get a loan and the loan's at 3.75, I'm going to turn around and sell it owner financing 10% higher than the actual cost at 2 points higher than what I'm paying.
Yeah. So that's your formula. You sell it 10% over your purchase price and then 2 points over on the loan financing.
Yes, sir. That's pretty much the exact model. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, that you have a program that you're using there. Are you finding that you're able to sell your houses pretty quickly?
Oh, yes. Too fast. I can't even get in to clean them up half the time. If we get a property, if I post pictures of it and owner financing, no bank qualifying on the certain sites we go to, I'm getting people there before I can get in there and clean it up. It's such a hungry market right now. Buyers, I get them pre-qualified if they only need it like a couple 1-2 years down the road because of a past medical bill or something like that, but their debt to income can support it. I'm getting buyers like that all day long.
Well, I tell you, that's key right there, is being able to move those things. You can buy houses all day. Getting your buyer in there and not having to make those payments, that's the thing that you want to do. What would you advise other investors to do? What things should they be doing to make sure that they have buyers at the ready to move into those houses?
3 bedrooms or higher. I don't like 2 bedrooms. 3 bedrooms or higher and a plus school district. I don't do war zones. I don't know if people are familiar with A, B, C, D zones, but D zones are war zones, drug zones. I'm not interested one bit. I like the country, nice, peaceful, calm areas, mom and pop shops, and edges of the like North Pittsburgh, out of the city, but North Pittsburgh and out in the safer areas. I do not touch war zones.
So to you, the key is the location of the house, that it's in a decent area to live and good school districts.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's the 3 key factors for me for everything.
Okay. And that's going to ensure that you have plenty of buyers.
Yes, and war zones. You can get people in war zones, but they get scared out because of the drugs, the crime. It's harder to fill. More stuff happens to the house when it's vacant, when no one's home. More break-ins. I don't need to deal with the drama. I hate drama. I want nice, calm, cool, collective. So school district, 3 bedrooms are my things.
Right. And those are the ones you hold for your seller financing.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. That's good. Well, Steve and I are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Steve's going to talk to us and share with us his best sources for leads that are allowing him to buy several houses a month. So you guys come back with us here in a few minutes.
The Sub2 Deals Show with your host, Sub2 expert William Tingle. We'll be right back. Hey Sub2ers, do you want to learn how to get the deed but need a little help getting started? Want to learn how to fill out the paperwork, how to use a land trust, how to market for deals, how to negotiate with sellers, and more? Join us in the Sub2 Deals Facebook coaching group. Get the benefits of one-on-one coaching without the big price tag. Learn to do Sub2 right with coaching in a group setting and mastermind format. Head over to sub2deals.com right now and click on consulting and group coaching. We'll save you a seat. Back to the show, the Sub2 Deals Show, with your host, Sub2 expert William Tingle.
Hey guys, we're back here with Steve Warrene. Steve is an investor in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he's been investing for the last 18 years, buys several houses a month, Sub2, wholesale, lease option. Steve is a true transaction engineer. Whatever comes to him, he's got a box to put it in. So when we left off before our break, Steve was telling us about his business model, and he likes nice homes in good school districts, and he says those sell very well. Steve's going to share with us now his best sources for seller leads. So Steve, how are you generating the leads that you need to buy all these houses every month?
A lot of different avenues. I'm a licensed realtor, so I look at the expireds every day when expireds come out. If it's in the school zones that I like, the 3 bedrooms and stuff like that, I will do some research online to find their phone numbers, go door knock them, direct mail them. People that are going through divorce that I find through the courthouses, I will go after the divorces, pre-foreclosures, people that are behind on payments that a mortgage default was filed against them. Door knocking them is not the best. I had some experiences that didn't end well with door knocking, but going after them, calling, direct mail, just driving by, seeing high grass, the tax liens. If I see tax liens on the information I get from the courthouse, I go after them. So tax liens, pre-foreclosures, divorces, and expireds.
So you're working all the avenues. I mean, you talk about the stuff that I did when I lived local, courthouse stuff, all kinds of different mailings, driving for dollars, FSBO signs, get out and knock on the door, call them up. I mean, just any opportunity you see with someone who may need to sell their house, you're reaching out to them.
Oh, yes. Yep. I need to go after everything as hard as I can, as best as I can. I try to reach at least 40 calls a day.
Mm-hmm. You also do a little bit of Facebook marketing, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. Are you using Facebook Marketplace, or do you actually run Facebook ads?
Nope, neither. I go to the local, where the school districts are. I go, I might as well say, like Lower Borough. I'll go to their flea market site. I will go to their community page. I will go to their buy and sell page. I post properties on there, no money down housing, put stuff in there. I'm looking to buy a house. There's thousands of people on those sites. So, people hit you up. I tell everyone, private message me. So I get PMs all the time. I got a house to sell. I'm going through a divorce. My realtor's not selling my house. Help me. And when I got a property and I post on there, that's where I get most of my leads, is on Facebook community sites. When I post a property, that's where all the buyers come from.
So it's Facebook community sites.
Yes. Local flea market, local, like I said, I'll use my local area. Lower Borough, for sale by owner, local borough yard sale, local borough community site, local borough, buy and sell. So just anything with that town, Lower Borough, anything I can find attached to Lower Borough on a community site, I join it all around my surrounding area. And when I find a property, I post, even if it's not Lower Borough, if it's in Apollo, Kiski, Armstrong, Leechburg, I attach that property in Lower Borough to all them other sites too, because they're all close together.
Now, do you run into much pushback from the people who run those groups, or do you reach out to them first and ask them if you can post?
Sometimes people, tell me that's not allowed, and I'll ask why. If it's a for sale by owner site, I'm selling my house. If it's a yard sale, I'm selling the yard and I'm giving the house away for free if they pay me for my yard.
That's a good approach.
It's just, if they push back, I just ask them why, and I just say I'm a local. I just tell them, look at my Facebook page. I am local in the area, and I'm selling my house.
So you don't reach out to them first. You ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Exactly. Yep. It's always easier to get forgiveness over permission.
Okay. Well, great. Well, that's a good tip. I haven't heard anybody really talk about that aspect of Facebook. Most of what I hear is Facebook ads or Facebook marketplace.
That's just my model, but 90% of everything I sell comes off of the local flea market sites, for sale sites, and local community sites. I get 90% of my buyers.
Now that's your buyers for your houses. Do you use the same thing for buying houses yourself?
I do every once in a while, but that's harder to do, because when you're trying to put something out there that I want to buy a house, even if I say no realtors involved, I get realtors calling me constantly. I got a house. I got all the house. You get realtors climbing up my backside trying to get my business to get me as a buyer. And I tell them, oh, I'm a licensed realtor. I don't want to deal with you.
Right.
So instead of
Okay.
weeding that, I rather just get the information off the courthouse or do some, personal investigating to find leads.
Right. So what's your best lead source for actual sellers, would you say, out of all the stuff you're doing? And I know you're door knocking and you're direct mailing. You cold call a lot too. Now, is that a really good producer for you?
Yes and no. Some people are offended. Now every single one I call, the number I call, if I do not get that one of them, this number's disconnected. If I leave a voicemail or if it just rings, I text every single one of them.
Okay.
So I just say, my name's Steve Warrene. I'm local in the area. I found out that you may be interested in selling your house. Could you please give me a call? And just go from there. And I put my first and I spell my last name out because it's awkward, so they can do research on me on
Right.
Facebook and Google and see that I'm local.
Yeah. Well, what do you think is your absolute best lead source for sellers?
Expireds.
Expires, contacting expires. And when you do that, you contact the homeowner directly. You don't try to go through the agent in any way, or the old agent.
No, I do not go through the agent because they're just commission chasers and they're just greedy commission chasers. They will block you from getting to the owner. Nope.
You heard that, guys. Now this is directly from a realtor. The
Nope.
agent will block you from the seller.
Well, on that note, the only reason I became a realtor is when I was buying a bunch of houses, I ran out of all the for sale by owners I could find when I was with my ex. And I started watching houses that were on the market forever and a day, grass is high. I went to them and I was offering land contracts. I was offering, subject twos, wraparound mortgages. The realtors didn't understand any of that. So I was requesting that I sit down with the seller. They were denying me because I wasn't an agent. They said that I wasn't allowed. So that's the only reason I got my license is because realtors are too ignorant to know what we're doing.
So when you pull your expired lists, do you send them a card or letter, or do you just pick up the phone?
Oh, I pick up the phone. I don't have time to waste. The time I can sit out and write out that letter, I could have made the phone call in less than a third of the time it would take me to do a postcard.
And when they answer the phone, what's your spiel? What do you say?
Well, I look at their names. I just call up, I'll just say, hey, is this William?
It is.
Yeah, my name's Steve Warrene. I saw your house for sale. Do you have a minute to talk?
Sure.
Then I just go from there and just feel them out. I saw it didn't sell. My biggest thing I love to do is when I'm talking to them, I'd be like, well, did your realtor make payments while they were trying to sell your house? And all of them say no. I'd be like, well, if I just throw this out there, will you let me make the payments on your house until I sell it? I bought a bunch of houses that way. That's one of my favorite pickup lines.
That's good. I like that a lot. Huh, okay. So you think expired listings are your biggest producer right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Pre-foreclosures I love, but they're not acceptable to answer the phone because they got the banks calling, they got attorneys calling, they got collection agencies calling. So it's harder to get through to them. But expireds, they just pick up the phone, have a general conversation. They're nice, calm, relaxed, and they're a little aggravated because it didn't sell, but that's why I'm calling. So I relieve some of the stress by calling and letting them know I'm looking to buy it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's say that you get you're calling your expireds and you got somebody on the phone that sounds like they might be open to subject to. How do you decide if you want that deal or not? It sounds like the seller's on board. I mean, but obviously you've got to evaluate some things, cash flow, equity, that sort of thing. Tell me how you decide if that deal's going to work for you.
Well, once I get into that point, I get a feel for the house. Does the house need any work at all? If they're going to sell it on terms, if I get to that point, I just ask them how much do they owe, how long is it a 30-year mortgage, what's the interest rate, and what's your monthly payment. And I tell them that I own a professional property management company area. I know what rents are for. Then I say, can I call you back after I do my research? And then when I come back, do my research, if their cash flow is there, I'll tell them we can go forward. If it's not there, then I'll just tell them I can't hold it, but I might have a buyer that might be interested that, I can pass it on to them. That's where I'm going to wholesale it and, make a couple bucks.
Right. What's your minimum acceptable cash flow?
That all depends. I look at cash flow and equity. If the equity is like $35,000 and the cash flow is zero, then I'll do it. If the equity is like 0 and the cash flow is 250 or plus, then I'll do it.
Okay. So you just got to have one or the other. You don't require both.
No, correct. I need one or the other.
Okay. I got you. Well, give us an example of a sub-2 deal that you're working on right now. Tell us how you found it and what the numbers look like and what your plan is and what you think your overall profit might be.
Well, my new partner up north, he contacted me, says he has a property. He's been talking to an owner. They've been playing footsies back and forth for over a month now, and he doesn't know how to get it together. So the guy says he bought a racetrack up north, and this was a rental house. The tenant moved, and he's just like, I'm done with it. I don't care. But Chris, I shouldn't have said his name, but my new partner, Chris, he was like, I just don't know how to make this happen. So I said, give me the phone number. I talked to him, and it's a line of credit. So subject to is a little tougher because they'll call the loan due quicker. So I just told them we're going to do a land contract. It's like a subject to. I said we're going to do a land contract. The deed will stay in your name because you have a line of credit. You're going to close the line of credit, and we're going to turn around and make payments on it. And when we cash you out is whenever it happens. But it's got at least $35,000 equity on the back end. So, and he doesn't care one bit because he bought that racetrack. So as long as payments are being made, he was worried about the payments. And I said, with today's technology, you can track the payments online. All our payments go out on the 7th. You can check on the 10th and you'll see your payments are there.
Right. So you're actually just buying this on a contract for deed, and you're going to make it's actually what it's going to be. You're just going to buy it on contract for deed for his mortgage balance, and you're just going to make his mortgage payment.
Yes, because it's a line of credit, and
right.
a line of credit, they're more easily, it's a free and clear house with a line of credit, and I don't want the line of credit to get a little suspicious and, do it. So,
right. And so what's that house worth, you think?
Well, we're talking, it's about an hour and a half away from me. We're talking in the boondocks. It's worth about 79, maybe about 80,000, and he owes 32.
He owes 32.
Yep.
So you're going to get this house for like 40 cents on the dollar.
Pretty much, yes.
And he doesn't want anything. He just wants it gone.
Yep. He just wants it off his hands.
Wow. And what are your payments going to run? If it's an LOC, you're probably only required to pay interest only.
His payments are going down. He didn't know how that worked. He just said every month my payment's a little less, but he pays $350 a month on a consistent basis. The tax and insurance, the taxes are $1,700, so that's going to be just under $150 a month. Right. Insurance, I don't know what the insurance bill is, but so if he's paying $350 plus $150 for taxes, that's $500. We can rent it for $850. So we're going to be about $500 plus insurance, $600. So yeah, we'll make about $250 a month till we cash it out and get the equity.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a nice little deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could stand to do 2 or 3 of those a month, probably.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Do you have any tools that you use in your business that are really helpful? I mean, some people use different, software, prop streams, Popular, and some other stuff. You have access to the MLS and everything, so you've got that. But are any other tools in your business that really help out?
Just Facebook. Facebook's my biggest supply of leads.
Okay.
Well, buyer leads. The MLS is my biggest supplier of sellers. Facebook is my biggest supply of buyers, and email is my software.
Okay. Well, that works. You keep things pretty simple.
Yes. If you were one of my buyers, you would be in my email as SFB, single family buyer, William Tingle. So, and if you were a seller, you'd be an FSS, single family seller.
Okay, I got you. So do you use a certain, you just use an email program. That's your contact management system.
Yes.
I got you. Okay. How did you learn to do all these things, Steve? You know an awful lot of ways to take a deal. And how did you learn it all?
Well, I went out and bought a program when I first started after I couldn't get, I bought 4 houses. I couldn't get any more loans. I just did some research of buying properties, no money down. I bought a program. It had different ways to do it. I just learned one and went out and did it. I made some mistakes, but I went out and bought several. I didn't try to do everything at once. I wanted to learn one technique at a time till I was comfortable. Then I moved to the next technique till I was comfortable. Then I moved to the next. So that's the best way I say learn one technique. Like subject twos are my favorite, obviously. So people should just learn how to do a subject two. Go out and do it.
Yeah. I see that with investors all the time. They learn something new. Oh, lease options. Great. This looks fantastic. And they focus on that for a week. And then they see something else. Oh, subject twos. This looks great. They forget about lease options. They move on subject twos. And they do that over all these different techniques. And in a month, 2 months, 3 months, they haven't bought a single house because they haven't focused on anything long enough to learn it and then go out and do it.
Well, that's called the puppy dog approach. They're chasing a bone. They see something new, they go chase it. They see something new, they go chase it. No, you can't do that.
It always reminds me of, you ever been driving down the road and see a squirrel in the road?
Yep.
You know how they run this way and then they stop and they run that way, and they do that 2 or 3 times. And a lot of times they get run over because they can't decide which way to go.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. The biggest failure in this business is because they don't act.
Right.
Right.
Well, so with all your experience and all the things you do, if you were to give a new investor wanting to get started advice, what would be your advice to that investor?
Learn one technique and go do it. Subject two is the easiest. Subject two is the safest. Subject two, you don't need any bank qualifying. Learn how to talk to people, and just do a subject two. Get the deed transferred either in your LLC or into a land trust, but just learn subject two and go do it.
Now, you've been doing subject two. You say you feel like it's the safest. You don't worry about, or have you had any problem with the due on sale clause?
Nope. The bank's in the business for cash flow. They're not in the business for property management. So as long as the payments are being made, I never once got called out, and I've done tons of deals.
Yeah.
So never once the bank called me.
Do you notify the bank that you're taking over the payments, or?
Oh yeah, we get them to sign an authorization release. We have them send it into the bank 3 days later because it needs 48 hours. But I wait 3 days later. I call the bank, say I'm Steve Warrene, I'm representing, and I say the company and I say the person's name. I get the loan information. I just said we're helping out the seller, and we're going to start making payments from this point forward.
And so you don't ever officially notify the bank that you're buying the house and taking over the payments?
No.
I never did that either. I've talked to some people that say they actually do that, but I've never really seen the upside in doing that.
Nah, there's no use of standing on a railroad train wondering if a train's going to come or not. So I like to stand on the side of the tracks. So no, I don't tell them directly. I just tell them I'm making the payments from this point forward.
Right. And you just do it.
Yep.
Okay. So, Steve, I can't thank you enough for sharing your business with us and your tips and techniques. That's a great tip with Facebook and getting in the community post. There's got to be in a decent sized town. There's probably hundreds of those things.
Every town has little communities. Like me, Brackenridge, Lower Burr. I mean, I can name all of them. They all got their own little website, or not sites, but Facebook sites for yard sales, community sites, community service, get together groups, all that stuff. So every single little different name town in your area, you should be Facebooking that and joining and just posting.
Right. Well, like I said, I certainly thank you for being here with us, Steve. It was great talking with you, and I appreciate you sharing your business with us.
I'm glad to be here. I love the group we're in, the coaching group. I love everything about it. It's the more I feed my brain, the more I go out and do what I learned, the more I'm going to make.
That's right. Taking action. That's the key, isn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely.
So, guys, there you have it. From a full-time investor, been doing this for 18 years. Get out there, learn a technique, devote some time to it, do a few deals with it, really learn how it works, and then move on to something else and give that a try. If you want to be a transaction engineer, you need to know a lot of different ways to do things. My thing is subject to, that's what I do. It's all I do today. But there are a lot of other investors out there who want to make the most of any deal that comes along. And if that's something that appeals to you, you can certainly be a success doing it. That's going to be it for this episode of the Sub 2 Deals Show podcast. You can find the show notes for this episode along with a complete transcript at sub2podcast.com. That's SUB, the number 2, podcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast. It only takes a minute and it helps others find the show. You can subscribe as well as leave a rating and review by visiting Apple Podcast and just do a quick search for the Sub 2 Deals Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with a fellow real estate investor who you think would benefit from it. And finally, if you haven't yet, you can join our free Facebook group at Sub 2 Forum. That's SUB, the number 2, forum.com. You can also find lots more resources to help you grow your real estate investing business at sub2deals.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep marketing, and get out there and buy some houses.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Sub 2 Deals Show with William Tingle. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit sub2deals.com, on Facebook at Sub 2 Deals. We'll catch you next time.